This adventurous story begins by depicting a future time when strange natural changes began occurring on Earth. However, these changes in the environment were heavily impacting human bodies. Due to frequent natural disasters, people became quite frightened. But the most shocking thing was that no reproduction was happening on Earth anymore. This meant that the remaining population was the last of humanity, unable to increase their numbers. All the women and girls on Earth were no longer fertile, and the same was happening with the men, preventing them from reproducing. This situation left governments around the world troubled, as they couldn't find a solution to the natural disasters affecting reproduction. We see a coffee shop filled with people watching the news. A man named Kyo arrives, asking for coffee, but when he looks at the news, his eyes widen in shock. The news reported that after a long time, a couple had given birth, but the child had contracted an unknown illness and died within 2 months. Hearing this news, everyone was terrified and felt hopeless about their survival, as they knew their population could not increase. However, Kyo seemed unfazed by this news and took his coffee, walking away from the shop. As he moved a little further, a huge explosion occurred in a building nearby. The blast was so powerful that its impact could be felt kilometers away, and it was caused by members of a terrorist organization. The fear of declining population had led all countries to open their borders, hoping to allow more people to enter and increase their population, thus maintaining their power. However, these decisions were not accepted by military forces. Military personnel in each country were either killing or sending back citizens from other nations. All identities were being thoroughly checked, and it became mandatory to assess the fertility of citizens as well. Riots began erupting everywhere due to the arrival of terrorists. Many groups believed that this was the end of Earth and human civilization, and that they should not wait any longer to eradicate humanity. However, what these terrorists didn't realize was that they had been brainwashed. The next day, Kyo left for his office. Inside, everyone was in tears over the news of the child, but it didn't affect Kyo at all. He approached his boss and requested permission to work from home due to the riots outside, then left the office. Later, he met his old friend Jasper, who was involved in drug production at home. Jasper took Kyo to meet his wife, Janie, who had aged significantly and suffered from a strange illness that had left her paralyzed. On the walls of Jasper's house were numerous photos of Kyo and his ex-wife, Julian. Kyo and Julian had once been together and had a child who also died unexpectedly. Julian couldn't cope with the loss and distanced herself from Kyo, leaving him alone ever since. As Kyo was heading home after work, a group of terrorists ambushed him, forcing him into a van. A black cloth was placed over his face to obscure his location. After a short while, they arrived at a safe place, and the cloth was removed. Kyo found himself facing a large group of terrorists, and to his shock, Julian was among them. She was the leader of the group. Julian spoke to Kyo about how borders between countries had been dismantled, allowing many foreign people to enter. She explained that a woman had been captured by the military, and she and her organization wanted to help her. All they needed legal papers to send her back to her country, and Kyo was the only one who could create those papers since his cousin worked in Parliament and could forge documents. Julian asked Kyo to make fake papers for the lady so she could return home. Kyo was given the freedom to make his decision, but after thinking for a while, he refused. Even though Julian promised him a lot of money, Kyo didn't need it and directly rejected her intentions. Angered, Julian ordered her men to send Kyo back. They forcibly put him back in the van and handed him a paper, with Julian saying that if he changed his mind later, he could contact them. Kyo was returned safely to his location. Here, he realized that Julian didn't want to harm anyone. She and her terrorist group were trying to help others return home. After much thought, Kyo went to his cousin who worked in the ministry. He simply told her he needed legal papers for a relative who needed to leave the country. With that reason, he obtained the necessary documents. Kyo brought the papers to Julian, who felt she could trust her husband again after so long. Julian then got into a car with Kyo, where a girl named Nomi was sitting. She was the one for whom the papers had been created, and they were transferring her to another country. Many of Julian's team members were also in the car. They needed to reach their base camp, where many refugees and people from other countries were already stranded. As they drove through the jungle, they were attacked by several locals from a nearby settlement. Julian urged her drivers to get away quickly, but the villagers had weapons and began firing at them. One bullet struck Julian directly. The most shocking thing happened. Julian died instantly. Kyo was completely in shock. Despite their separation, he had always loved her. After moving to another part of the jungle, they buried Julian's body in the ground. The group then headed to their base where the remaining refugees were stranded, unable to return home. With Julian gone, a man named Luke was appointed as the new leader of the organization, taking on the responsibility of getting the refugees to safety and making all the important decisions. Nomi, the girl they were trying to send out of the country, called Kyo over to talk. She mentioned that Julian had told her to trust only Kyo and no one else, indicating that Julian wanted Kyo to help her escape. Nomi asked Kyo to get her onto a ship called Tomorrowland that would take her to another country within a day. However, when she revealed that she was pregnant, Kyo was taken aback. Since the last incident where a child was born, no woman on Earth had been able to conceive. When Luke and the others learned this, they were shocked, and Kyo realized why the villagers wanted to harm Nomi. They wanted her to join their community to increase their population. This made Nomi's protection crucial. Kyo decided he would help Nomi reach the other country because Julian had trusted him, and he wouldn't let that trust be broken. Later that night, as Kyo was passing by Luke's room, he overheard a conversation. Luke was confessing that he was the one who had attacked Julian to take her life, motivated by his desire to become the new leader and control Nomi, who was pregnant. Kyo realized Luke's intentions to use Nomi for his political gain. Understanding the urgency, he rushed to inform her about Luke's plans. He took Nomi with him and drove away to a safe location. Despite Luke's men pursuing them, Kyo didn't stop the car, determined to protect Nomi. They arrived at Jasper's house, where Jasper first fed them, as they hadn't eaten in days. Kyo then shared all the information about Nomi's pregnancy and the necessity of getting her out safely. A woman accompanying Nomi mentioned that the ship named Tomorrowland was a hospital ship that treated people and could transport them from one country to another. Kyo realized he needed to get Nomi onto that ship at all costs. After their meal, Jasper brought out a car from his garage. He explained that he had a contact who was a soldier that usually bought drugs from him, and he could help them escape. The soldier would smuggle them out as refugees, ensuring no one suspected anything. As they prepared to leave, Jasper checked his CCTV cameras and saw that angry villagers were nearby, searching for Nomi. Understanding the danger, Jasper told Kyo to take the others in the car to the soldier while he stayed behind. He realized that if the villagers caught them, they would kill him and his paralyzed wife, so he proposed to his wife one last time, giving her a large dose of drugs to ease her pain as she passed away. Meanwhile, Kyo had driven away with Nomi and the others, determined to ensure their safety. Kyo felt a deep sense of fear for Jasper, so he went back to check on him. The group had taken Jasper at gunpoint, and in the next moment, they shot him because he wouldn't reveal Nomi's location. Kyo was devastated. Jasper had sacrificed his wife and his own life to save them. Now, Kyo had to find a way to protect Nomi and get her to safety. He got into the car and drove towards the soldier who was Jasper's contact. They soon found him, and Kyo used the password Jasper had provided to confirm his identity. Understanding the situation, the soldier helped them and put them in a van to take them away. He brought them to a military camp where accommodations were arranged, promising to take them across the border the next day. Kyo and the refugees were loaded onto a bus, and he felt hopeful that they might finally be safe. However, Nomi suddenly began experiencing intense labor pains. The other refugees were unaware of her pregnancy, and Kyo had kept it secret to protect her. As they approached a checkpoint, a soldier entered the bus to check for illegal items. Kyo knew that if the soldier discovered Nomi's condition, they would be in serious trouble. One of the women traveling with them took a gun to protect Nomi, attempting to shoot the soldier. In the chaos, the soldiers apprehended her, diverting their attention away from Nomi. This allowed Kyo and Nomi to escape as the bus sped away from the checkpoint. Kyo feared for their relative, realizing the soldiers might harm her as well, but there was nothing he could do. After moving a little further, they met a woman named America, who offered them a safe place to stay. As Nomi's labor pains intensified, Kyo realized he would have to assist with her delivery. He prepared to help her bring the baby into the world, knowing that their lives depended on it. After enduring immense pain, Nomi gave birth to a beautiful baby girl, and both of them were safe. Just then, the soldier who had brought them to the refugee camp arrived. He was shocked to see that Nomi had given birth, as he had no idea about her condition. Suddenly, his demeanor changed. He took everyone at gunpoint and demanded that they get down. The soldier wanted to keep the baby with him to help increase the population. Seeing this opportunity, America attacked the soldier, giving everyone a chance to escape. She quickly led Kyo and Nomi to a safe place where they could rest. They had arranged for a boat to take them to a larger ship named Tomorrowland, but they needed to reach the coast first, which was going to be difficult since groups outside were fighting among themselves. Luke and his men were also on the lookout for Kyo and Nomi. As soon as they spotted them, Luke's group attacked. He grabbed Nomi, trying to take her away. Kyo and America weren't ready to give up. They immediately pursued them. In the chaos, the villagers who wanted Nomi's baby also joined the fray, attacking Luke's men, which provided Kyo and America a chance to escape. They stealthily made their way to a building where many refugees were hiding. Kyo left America in a safe spot and went to find Nomi. Inside the building, more terrorists began to arrive, but Kyo navigated carefully past them. He then heard the sound of a crying baby and followed it, reaching Nomi, who was hiding in a corner with their daughter. Kyo helped Nomi, guiding her toward an exit, determined to get them all to safety. Just then, Luke appeared, aiming his gun at them. When he saw the baby in Nomi's arms, he became momentarily emotional but quickly started firing. Fortunately, Kyo managed to dodge and escape to the other side. However, the baby's cries drew the attention of everyone around. To Kyo's surprise, instead of capturing Nomi, the crowd started protecting her, realizing that this baby could be the key to restoring their population. As Kyo and Nomi approached the military personnel, the firing stopped, ignited by a glimmer of hope sparked by the sight of the baby. But just when they thought they were safe, Luke and the remaining soldiers launched another attack, showing that the chaos was far from over. Luckily, Kyo found America, who led them to a safer location. She helped them onto a small boat, urging Kyo to focus on saving Nomi and the baby. Though he wanted America to join them, she insisted he prioritize Nomi's safety. They quickly boarded the small boat, heading towards the checkpoint where the larger ship, Tomorrowland, was supposed to arrive. After waiting for a while, they grew anxious when the ship didn't show up. Nomi feared they had missed it, but Kyo urged her to be patient. As Nomi looked at the blood on the boat, she realized it was Kyo's. Luke had shot him. In the sky, fighter jets zoomed towards the city, attacking to quell the unrest. Meanwhile, their baby began to cry inconsolably. Kyo, trying to calm them, shared a strategy to soothe her, hoping to maintain some semblance of peace as they waited for their escape. She calms her down, and the little girl really does quiet down. Kyo has now decided on her daughter's name, which is none other than the name of Kyo and Julia's child. When Kyo learns this, he becomes very emotional, feeling that this is his child. At that moment, Kyo misses his wife a lot. After a short while, a large ship named Tomorrowland arrives, where many people see Kyo and Ki in their small boat, and they successfully rescue them. At the end of the story, we hear the cries of many children, indicating that Ki has survived and given birth to many fertile children. Gradually, the declining population begins to grow, and all the people on Earth start to thrive again, returning to better conditions. This means that no matter how bad the situation may be, we should not lose hope because there is always a solution. And that's how the story comes to an end.